Did you know your landlord could double your rent overnight and it might be completely legal? In parts of Canada, that's exactly what's happening. While most people think they're protected by rent control, the truth is tens of thousands of tenants are living in units that have no legal protection at all. And if you're one of them, you could be just one notice away from losing your home with zero warning. Across major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Halifax, renters are waking up to sudden rent hikes, surprise evictions, and legal loopholes being used against them. Landlords are using tactics like renovictions, fixed-term lease tricks, and even AI-powered algorithms to raise rents and force tenants out. And the worst part? Many tenants don't even realize what's happening until it's too late. In this video, we're breaking down 10 shocking reasons why Canadian tenants are in serious trouble, and how these quiet changes in law are causing very real chaos. If you rent in Canada, this could be the most important video you watch all year. Number 1. The rent control myth. Most Canadians believe rent control laws protect them. But what if that safety net doesn't even apply to you? That's the harsh reality for millions of renters living in buildings constructed after a certain year. In Ontario, for example, any rental unit first occupied after November 15, 2018, is exempt from rent control laws. That means your landlord can raise your rent by any amount with almost no restrictions. This isn't just a technicality. It's a massive loophole that affects entire condo buildings, newly built apartments, and even basement suites. And landlords know it. They're targeting these properties specifically because they can adjust rent prices without worrying about government limits. While tenants in older buildings might see a modest 2 to 3% increase, newer tenants can be hit with 30%, 50%, to even 100% rent hikes, all completely legal. Even worse, most renters have no idea they're not covered. The lease might look standard, the building might feel secure, but unless you know the specific occupancy date of your unit, you could be living on a financial time bomb. Some renters have reported being priced out after just 1 year, forced to scramble for new housing in markets where rent has already soared. So how can you protect yourself? Start by checking the construction and occupancy date of your building. If it was built or first rented after your province's rent control cutoff, your rent isn't protected. That simple detail can mean the difference between housing security and sudden eviction. We pour hours into researching and creating these videos. If you found this eye-opening, so drop a comment sharing your renting experience. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. It's just one click, but it means the world to us and helps us keep delivering powerful content like this. Number 2, renovictions. Imagine getting an eviction notice, not because you did something wrong, but because your landlord wants to renovate. Seems fair on the surface, right? But here's the twist. In many parts of Canada, that renovation may never even happen. It's called a renoviction, and it's being used as a legal weapon to push tenants out and bring in new ones at way higher rent. Here's how it works. Landlords claim they need to do major repairs or upgrades, which legally allows them to ask tenants to vacate. But once you're out, they quietly increase the rent and bring in someone new. In some cases, they don't even complete the renovations or do the bare minimum just to say they did something. You're gone. The rent is doubled, and it's all perfectly legal. This tactic is exploding in cities like Vancouver, where low vacancy rates give landlords every incentive to flip tenants for profit. A recent study found that up to 1 in 5 evictions in BC are now linked to renovictions. And it's not just urban centers. This trend is spreading fast to smaller cities too. So how can you protect yourself? Document everything. Every conversation, every notice, every promise. If you get a renovation notice, ask for permits and detailed plans. In some provinces, landlords must offer the unit back to you after the renovation, but many won't unless you push for it. The more informed you are, the harder it becomes for them to take advantage. If you've faced a shady eviction or been pressured to leave, share your story in the comments. It might help someone else. And don't forget to subscribe. It's free, just one click, and it helps us keep shining a light on what really matters. Number 3, the fixed-term lease trap. You sign a one-year lease thinking, no problem, I'll just renew it next year. But when that year's up, your landlord says, sorry, it's a brand new lease with brand new rent. Welcome to the fixed-term lease trap, a legal tactic that's being quietly used to dodge rent control laws and push out tenants, one lease at a time. In provinces like British Columbia, landlords are turning away from traditional month-to-month leases in favor of fixed-term contracts. Why? Because it allows them to end your tenancy after the term, even if you're a perfect tenant. And once you're out, they can jack up the rent for the next person, often by hundreds of dollars. No notice, no negotiation, no mercy. What's worse, many renters sign these leases without understanding the fine print. The language might sound friendly. We'll renew next year, but legally that offer means nothing. It's a new lease with a new rate, and if you can't afford it, you're out. Fixed-term leases are being weaponized, especially in hot markets where demand is high and tenant protections are weak. And since it's all written into the contract, it's completely above board. But morally, that's up for debate. To avoid this trap, always ask how renewals are handled before signing. Request a clause that guarantees renewal at the legal increase limit, or consider month to month if that's available in your province. Knowledge is your best defense, and asking the right questions could save you thousands. Drop your experiences or horror stories in the comments. You're not alone, and your insight might just help someone else avoid the trap. And hey, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free, it's easy, and it fuels the fire for videos that put people first. Number 4, the system is broken. Let's say you know your rights. You've done your research, kept your paperwork, followed the rules, and your landlord still tries to illegally evict you. So you go to your province's landlord and tenant board, confident justice will be served. But here's the gut punch. You might be waiting months or even years for your hearing. In places like Ontario, tenant complaints are piling up. As of early 2024, the average wait time for a hearing is more than 9 months. And for some, it stretches over a year. That's a year of stress, instability, and fear, while landlords continue to profit, and you're left in limbo. And even when your hearing date finally comes, it's often rescheduled, delayed, or rushed through like just another number on a backlog list. These boards were designed to protect tenants and landlords equally, but understaffing, budget cuts, and rising case numbers have turned them into broken machines. Tenants are being evicted before their cases are even heard, and many are forced to move or give up because they can't wait out the process. So what can you do? First, don't wait to take action. File your case as soon as trouble starts and document every interaction. Second, get support. Legal clinics, tenant advocacy groups, and community networks can help speed up your case or apply pressure in the right places. The system may be slow, but you don't have to face it alone. If you've ever had to fight for your home and felt like no one was listening, share your story in the comments. We read them all. And if this video opened your eyes, please subscribe. It's one click, but it helps us keep exposing the truth that others ignore. Number 5, the pandemic is over. Remember when the pandemic hit and government stepped in to freeze rent increases, pause evictions, and protect tenants from financial fallout? For a while, it felt like renters were finally being seen. But fast forward to now, and almost all of those protections have quietly disappeared. No headlines, no warnings, just gone. Across Canada, provinces have been rolling back temporary renter protections, and most tenants didn't even realize it happened. In Ontario, the rent freeze ended in 2021. In BC, eviction bans were lifted. In Alberta, well, they barely existed to begin with. Landlords are now making up for lost time, slapping tenants with back-to-back rent hikes or eviction notices legally. What's worse is that many tenants are still operating under the assumption that protections are in place. They think they can't be evicted or that rent can't be raised too high. But the rules have changed, and so has the power dynamic. It's created a false sense of security, and landlords are taking full advantage. So how do you protect yourself in this post-pandemic reality? First, stay informed. Don't rely on outdated headlines. Check your province's official housing websites. Second, don't assume anything. If your lease says otherwise or your landlord is pushing boundaries, get it in writing and seek help fast. Finally, build your own safety net. Pandemic or not, you deserve stable housing, and knowledge is power. If your landlord raised your rent or tried to evict you after the pandemic, tell us in the comments. Your story could help someone else avoid the same mistake. And if you've made it this far, you clearly care. So hit that subscribe button. It's free, easy, and fuels the mission to keep renters informed. Number 6, the province problem. Think all renters in Canada have the same rights? Think again. Your legal protections can change completely depending on which province you call home. Two tenants in similar apartments, one in Quebec, one in Alberta, could be living under entirely different rules, even if they're paying the same rent. In some provinces, rent control is strict and enforced. In others, it's non-existent. For example, Manitoba has long-standing rent control, while New Brunswick has been heavily criticized for weak protections and some of the highest rent increases in the country. In Alberta, landlords only need to give 90 days notice to raise your rent, and there's no cap on how much. This creates a patchwork of tenant rights and a major knowledge gap. Many renters assume they have national protections, when in reality, there's no federal oversight of rent laws in Canada. That's right. Your housing security depends entirely on provincial politics, and some governments are siding more with developers and landlords than with the people actually living in these homes. So what can you do? Know your province's laws inside out. What's legal in Nova Scotia might be illegal in British Columbia. Before signing a lease or challenging your landlord, visit your provincial housing authority website and double-check the fine print. And if you're moving, don't just look at rent prices. Look at tenant protections too, because sometimes a cheaper apartment comes with far fewer rights. Drop your province in the comments and tell us how things really are for renters in your area. We want to map the truth, one comment at a time. And if you're finding value here, now hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it keeps this conversation alive and growing. Number 7, corporate landlords in what happens when your rent isn't decided by a human, but by an algorithm? That's not science fiction. It's happening right now in cities across Canada. More and more rental units are being snapped up by corporate landlords who use AI-powered software to set and raise rent. These systems don't care about your loyalty, your clean record, or your story. They only care about maximizing profit. One investigation found that landlords using pricing algorithms were able to raise rent in some buildings by over 10% in just a few months, automatically adjusting prices based on demand, competition, and even the day of the week. And here's the kicker. They often share data between landlords, reducing competition and making it harder for you to find affordable alternatives nearby. What used to be a negotiation between people has turned into a calculated numbers game, and regular renters are caught in the crossfire. A building that feels like home to you might just be a data point in a profit model to them. So what can you do? First, be aware of who owns your building. Is it a private landlord or a big corporate company? Second, keep tabs on rent trends in your neighborhood. If your rent jumps suddenly, you have the right to ask how it was calculated. Finally, don't underestimate the power of organizing. Many corporate landlords respond only when tenants push back collectively. Tell us in the comments if you've noticed sudden, unexplained rent increases. You might not be alone. And if this info made you say, wait, what? Smash that subscribe button. Just one click fuels our fight to expose what's really happening behind your rent. Number 8, too many renters, not enough homes. You're not imagining it. Rent prices in Canada are going up faster than ever. And it's not just because of greedy landlords. It's also because of a massive supply and demand imbalance that's tipping the entire housing market out of control. Canada's population is growing rapidly thanks to increased immigration, students returning post-pandemic, and more people moving to cities for work. But the supply of new rental housing, it's not keeping up. Construction delays, labor shortages, and rising material costs have slowed development to a crawl. That means more renters are competing for fewer units, and landlords know it. This high demand gives landlords all the leverage. With dozens of applicants for every decent unit, they can raise rent, skip repairs, or push fixed-term leases. And if one tenant walks away, there's always another one ready to sign. In some cities like Toronto and Vancouver, rental bidding wars are now commonplace. Yes, renters are offering more than the asking price just to secure a place to live. So what's the takeaway here? If you're a renter in a major city, it may be time to look beyond the urban core. Smaller towns, outer suburbs, and commuter communities can offer better stability and more negotiating power. And if you're staying put, know your market well so you can spot when a rent hike is fair or when it's exploitation disguised as economics. We want to hear from every corner of Canada. Tell us how rent has changed in your area and how you're dealing with it. And if this video is helping you navigate the madness, hit that subscribe button. Just one click helps us keep renters informed and empowered. Number 9. The lease trap. Ever signed a lease thinking you understood it, only to realize you missed something huge? You're not alone. One of the biggest reasons tenants get taken advantage of isn't greed, it's confusion. Many renters don't fully understand what's in their lease, and landlords are banking on that. From hidden utility charges to vague maintenance responsibilities and unclear termination clauses, leases are often filled with complex legal terms that most people don't read or don't understand. And once you sign, you've legally agreed to it. That standard lease might allow rent hikes, early eviction, or even automatic non-renewal if you miss a small detail. A 2023 Canadian housing survey revealed that nearly 60% of renters never fully read their lease, and over 70% didn't ask questions before signing. And that's a recipe for disaster, especially in high-stakes markets where one misstep can cost you your home. The problem isn't you, it's the system. Lease documents are rarely written in plain language, and landlords don't always explain them clearly. But the solution is in your hands. Take the time to go through every section, ideally with a trusted friend, housing advocate, or legal clinic. Ask about rent increase clauses, renewal terms, utilities, pets, subletting, and repairs. Every line matters. In a market this unpredictable, financial literacy is survival. Understanding your lease means understanding your rights and knowing when something doesn't feel right. Share your leasing red flags in the comments. Your story could save someone from signing into trouble. And if you're learning something new with each video, don't forget to subscribe. It's just one click, but it keeps us going and helps bring more renters the clarity they deserve. Number 10. Disorganized tenants. Here's a hard truth. Landlords are organized. Tenants usually aren't. And that imbalance is one of the biggest reasons renters keep losing ground in Canada's housing crisis. Large landlord associations exist in nearly every province. They have lobbyists, legal teams, and political influence. They meet, strategize, and push for policies that protect their profits. Meanwhile, most tenants are dealing with housing problems on their own, unsure where to turn or how to fight back. And that's exactly how the system wants it to stay. But history has shown us that when tenants organize, things start to change. From rent strikes to policy reform, tenant unions and advocacy groups have stopped illegal evictions, blocked unfair rent increases, and even changed housing laws. The power of collective voice is real, but it only works if people come together. Unfortunately, many renters don't even realize that tenant unions exist or that they can start one themselves. You don't need a lawyer, just neighbors, a shared goal, and persistence. Even a small group in one building can demand repairs, challenge illegal practices, and force landlords to negotiate. Your landlord has a team. Why shouldn't you? So if you feel helpless, know this: you're not alone. In fact, you might be surrounded by allies. You just haven't met them yet. Talk to your neighbors, share this video, start the conversation, because no one should have to fight for housing security by themselves. Let us know in the comments. Would you join one or even start one? You might inspire others to take action. And if you value content that empowers renters, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it helps build the kind of community that landlords can't ignore. Canada's rental crisis isn't just about rising prices. It's about power imbalances, legal loopholes, and a system that's becoming harder for everyday renters to navigate. From AI-driven rent hikes to evictions disguised as renovations, the rules of the rental game are changing fast, and not in favor of tenants. We've uncovered 10 powerful reasons why renters across the country are more vulnerable than ever. And the truth is, many of these problems don't come with warning signs. They're hidden in fine print, buried in bureaucracy, or quietly passed into law without headlines. That's what makes them so dangerous and why it's so important to stay informed. But here's the good news. The more you know, the stronger you become. By understanding how fixed-term leases work, learning your province's specific laws, and connecting with others facing the same struggles, you turn confusion into clarity and fear into action. Whether you're just signing your first lease or you've been renting for years, you deserve housing that's safe, stable, and fair. But it starts with awareness and ends with community. Renters don't have to fight alone anymore. So keep asking questions, keep speaking up, and most importantly, don't let silence be the reason things stay broken.